taking a closer look at Western realignment.
The conference realignment carousel never stops spinning, so we're back on the Big Mountain with an update from a very special guest.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. We have Casey joining us again. He was with us yesterday for part one, where we focused on the PAC, the WAC, and other Western conferences. Today, we're going to focus on the Mountain West, looking at Hawaii and the decision they made several months ago regarding the PAC and the Mountain West, and also UNLV and a potential move to the Big 12 in the future. So here we go again with KC. The two schools I'd like to talk with you about, one is Hawaii and one is UNLV. Let's start with Hawaii, just to kind of go back to the PAC here real quick. Of course, back when the Mountain West, the four schools left, ended up being the five schools and whatnot. Hawaii was kind of lingering there for a little while. I believe this was an item that was brought up on that Mountain West Connection article as well. Just like to hear from you on if you have any reasoning, maybe why they chose one or the other. Did they have two potential suitors? There was a lot of kind of smoke about all of that here many months ago. Of course, as we all know, they chose the Mountain West, and the Mountain West chose them to be a full member. Can you maybe fill in any gaps with what occurred back then?
Great question on Hawaii. From the Pac-12 standpoint, Steve and Jason, there was definitely interest. How do I know this? Because I put together the pitch deck for the media consultant and also the Pac-12 reps, or the media group, so to speak. There was interest from the Pac-12 standpoint. There was obviously interest at the Mountain West standpoint, and the Big West really, was one of their true value member schools. I mean, I don't want to put out a number, but it was the majority of the eyeballs are on Hawaii for anything in the Big West. And I think that extends a little bit more on into Hawaii's unique TV window. That's something that can't change, where a lot of people say, oh, it's a disadvantage. It's actually an advantage. And so is the hospitality and tourism aspect of Hawaii. Everybody says, oh, it's so expensive to fly out there, but it's so cheap because they have so many great deals with wonderful hotels, airlines. They want it to happen, and they help subsidize those costs. But with that said, that TV window in terms of the next media valuations, with even sports betting on the horizon and becoming more ingrained into the sport culture, added tremendous value to the Pac-12 leadership. Their eyes saw green. It didn't matter if it's Delaware State or UCLA that they played last year. The eyeballs are on Manoa when they're playing that standalone football game. People are tuning in and people are understanding what Hawaii football is. So was there interest from the Pac-12? Absolutely. There was, I think, a lot of misalignment maybe on where the best fit for Hawaii athletics was, from even a political to a local support, former student athlete support. I don't know if everybody was on the same page, to be honest. Now, was I in every conversation? Absolutely not. Do I see all the pros to having Hawaii go to the Pac-12? Yeah, absolutely. I think that Hawaii is a special place and special people, and it's a fun brand to be associated with, and I think it's only going to grow in valuation in the future. Does that mean the Pac-12's thinks it's dead? No, I think no means not right now. And the word that was used was cost benefits to add Hawaii at this time. But the big piece there was cost benefits to adding Hawaii to the Pac-12. That is where I think they kind of hit that point. Now, with that said, that wording cost benefits was also several months ago. Right now, not saying, the conversations are going to be back alive, but I also know several months ago, as you guys do too, I think those Pac-12 media numbers were inflated maybe, or were a lot different than what those numbers are today. So maybe, they end up ending into the conversation again if it gets to that point. I don't think it does, especially with the current climate between the Mountain West and Pac-12 version 2.0. Yeah. But Hawaii absolutely had an opportunity. There was interest. It just cost benefits.
Great. Awesome stuff. I mean, you said some things there. It's the first time I've ever heard them. And I like to think we follow the Mountain West and the PAC maybe as close as just about anybody. So really great stuff there. And, I see some people say, oh, that chase bet thing isn't real. And we've said for a long time, yes, the chase bet thing is real. So go ahead, Steve.
And I remember, so we had Bob Thompson, retired Fox Sports executive on, and he brought that point up
Yeah.
about Hawaii with that value to whether it's the Pac or the Mountain West, and having that extra time slot and chasing that time zone.
That's right.
I mean, what for us degenerate gamblers, we can watch college football at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's bright and sunny in Hawaii. I mean,
Right.
Oh yeah.
what's better than that?
Oh, and if there's anybody listening here from like that has the D1 ticker subscription, I know you guys are involved with the D1 ticker, but this just puts the window in perspective. The D1 ticker, morning and in the evening. The evening edition of the D1 ticker comes out at 10:30, 11 o'clock a.m. in Hawaii. Now, it was so bizarre to watch college football all day when I was out in Manoa for games, and then you go to the game for the nightcap, essentially.
Yeah.
But there's data out there that shows that it's almost double, if not triple, the betting handles and windows. And majority of bettors also want to, not majority of them, but a good portion of the bettors want to watch what they're betting on.
Yes.
Therefore, that unique window drives revenue because it drives interest and it drives eyeballs. And the same thing goes for basketball, volleyball. There is a huge and massive opportunity, especially as that climate and betting, the dust settles a little bit. I mean, so far, several years ago, it was, oh, don't even talk about that B word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like on the ticker, it's scrolling.
Yeah.
And now the play-by-play folks are becoming a little more explicit. Instead of saying, this is interesting for some, it's now saying, oh, well, that's that 3-pointer is going to be meaningful because blah, 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 blah. They're saying it. ESPN Bet's involved. The NBA is open to it. That's going to happen to collegiate athletics. And as that window keeps opening, Hawaii's value is just going to keep growing and expanding.
Yeah, great points. Last school I'd like to talk about here is UNLV, the big boy on the block now in the Mountain West, at least how the new grant of rights is crafted. And they're going to be moving their offices to Las Vegas and just a lot of things going around the Las Vegas market there for the Mountain West. And, they've been pretty clear, UNLV, that, hey, they are very happy in the Mountain West right now. And their goal isn't the Pac-12. Their goal is actually the Big 12. They've said that. Fans, I know UNLV fans thinks that's very realistic. And you see some of the things that are going on at UNLV. I know there's certain items that have come up. You always get the clickbait stories. There was one about the coach salaries, and all that was a clickbait headline. I don't even want to go down that path. But I do want to hear from you about UNLV, kind of what their goal is for the Big 12 and how maybe can they get there in the next, whether it be 5, 7, 8, whatever it may be. Like, what are your thoughts there with UNLV?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, and to be also transparent, I live technically in the Las Vegas media market. I'm about 90 minutes northeast of Vegas. Now, do I have any type of UNLV blood in me? No, but that's also the airport that I often use. But the folks, especially from the prior administration with President, their sights weren't on the Pac-12. Did they have interest? Absolutely. I mean, if anybody calls with a better offer, you're probably going to listen, regardless if it's a job or a conference realignment. But ultimately, they were given, going back to the sweetheart deal, maybe down the road there's going to be, between them and Air Force with other Mountain West Conference member schools, some friction. But UNLV knows that they are in the driver's seat of the Mountain West Conference. They know that they have a healthy budget. They know that they have a healthy fan base. They know they have really good facilities, top to bottom. I mean, they can always improve, but they have a brand, and they're also in a very growing sport-centric city of Las Vegas. And because of that, they're in a really good spot from a media standpoint, but also, I mean, everybody's going to Vegas. It's cheap to fly to Vegas. There's a reason why every Western Conference athletic conference except one have their basketball tournaments in the West. Now, I know the Big 12, is now more of a Central and West, but it's coming back next year. There's one, it's in Boise, the Big Sky Conference. Las Vegas is a driving force. They also know that they're on the short list for that next round of realignment should the Big 12 expand. I have been told many times from different sources across the country that the Big 12 office is obsessed and enthralled with the idea of adding UNLV. And maybe you pull it back here a little bit more and say, maybe they're more interested in Las Vegas and what it brings to the future growth. Remember what we just talked about, okay?
Right.
The future growth of collegiate athletics and in the revenue space. Where is the one place where betting and the gaming industry is king? Las Vegas.
Yep.
Okay. So with that said, I think that could play a major role. They're going to be kings on top of the mountain in the Mountain West. They've got the sweetheart deal. They're going to get the money to be able to pay off some of these, debts that every school has. Sorry, I just, had to make sure I made that clear.
No, good.
Every school has those debts, accounting and counting. All right. Listening, your school can't pay up front, $10 million to a coach or whatever. But anyways, we won't go down that path, as I promised you, Jason. But with that said, I think the Big 12 has a short list, and guarantee UNLV is on that list. Should somebody leave the Big 12, or let's say there's a super league formed with 48 teams, well, guess who's going to be sliding in on there and as one of the early invites for that next round of realignment? UNLV.
Awesome. Well, you can see what they've been doing. I appreciate all the things that you laid out there. We've talked about the Thomas Mack Center many a time with the Mountain West basketball tournament. Just phenomenal. Got to watch it again this year. And the Mountain West obviously comes in, kind of takes it over and gets their branding and things like that in there. But phenomenal facility for college basketball in a exactly spot in the West that you want to be, Las Vegas, for all the things that you said. And really, you kind of see, I wasn't even planning on this, but you kind of see some of the kind of layover between Hawaii, the eyeballs and all the value that you said that they get for different reasons. They're not the betting capital of the world, but having that separate time zone and all of that versus Vegas having that draw for a different reason, but really, really two valuable properties to have in the Mountain West. So that's great. Steve, anything you wanted to end with?
No, I don't think so. Casey, you got any final thoughts to close us out?
I'll add in just one more aspect to that is there's a reason why Vegas is called the Ninth Island. There's huge interest there. And this past year, I was a part of a group that sold and packaged some of those games that were blacked out on the mainland to sports books and casinos because they couldn't show the Hawaii football games. And they know if it's on the board, it's bet. And so we were able to purchase those third-party rights for the mainland. I don't know where that lands right now. It's a new administration, which is fine. But again, there's tremendous value in that. And one more aspect about UNLV is, from my understanding, at least where it was 3 or 4 years ago, I'm sure it hasn't changed, but the Thomas and Mack revenues and expenses are actually housed in the athletics department budget. And so with all of those new resorts, new entertainment factors popping up, and concerts and events being moved out of the Thomas and Mack to go down to the street to the T-Mobile Arena or whatever new arena is there, that's going to take a hit on UNLV and UNLV athletics because the Thomas and Mack budgets are kind of hidden in there. I mean, a lot of institutions hide some of these subsidiary and auxiliaries within the athletics department budget. But with that said, I appreciate you all letting me be on the Big Mountain. Hopefully there was some insight. And if you were listening at home, feel free to reach out to me. As you can tell, I don't like talking about sports. I'm shy. I don't really like people, and I have zero personality. But with that, my DMs are always open. I want to make sure that there's transparency in sports, and we put the student aspect and the student athlete out first because, hey, we're talking sports, we're having fun, and it's creating a conversation, and it's a rally cry for alumni. I mean, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, we appreciate you, Casey. A lot of great nuggets, fantastic stuff here. And again, I'll have Casey's information in the description of this video. Make sure you check him out on the social. So with that, hey, we thank you guys for watching. Make sure you give this one a like and subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.